The clink of chess pieces and the hum of conversation filled Riverside Park's chess corner. Tourists lingered, watching local legends battle under the shade of elm trees. At the center sat Richard, the King Malone, a six-time state champion, infamous for his trash talk as much as his precision moves. "Looks like we've got a spectator who wandered out of the playground," Malone said loudly, his gaze fixed on a skinny, dark-skinned teenager setting down a beat-up backpack. The boy, 15-year-old Marcus Reed, wore a faded hoodie and sneakers with worn soles. He silently studied the board where Malone had just crushed another opponent in under 10 minutes. "You here to watch, kid?" Malone smirked. "Or you think you can take on the king?" A few regulars chuckled. The idea seemed absurd. Malone's games drew small crowds, and he relished humiliating anyone who dared to challenge him. "I'll play," Marcus said quietly, sliding into the empty seat. "Careful," Malone said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've ended grown men's dreams in under 10 moves. You sure you want this?" Marcus met his eyes. "I'm sure." What Malone didn't know was that in certain circles, Marcus Reed had another name, Phantom. Word of the match spread quickly across the park. By the time Marcus adjusted the wobbly folding chair, a semicircle of spectators had formed, some curious, others eager for Malone's next public execution. Malone leaned back in his seat, shuffling the pieces with theatrical flair. "All right, kid. No clock. Don't want to rush your big moment before I crush it." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Marcus ignored the taunts, setting his backpack down beside him. The zipper was frayed, the fabric stained. He pulled out a small plastic bag with a peanut butter sandwich inside and set it gently on the ground. Behind the crowd, a tall man in a worn leather jacket stopped in his tracks. His eyes narrowed as he recognized Marcus. Samuel Price, a former national junior coach, hadn't seen the boy in over 2 years, not since Marcus had vanished from the competitive circuit. Malone, oblivious, grinned for a smartphone camera held by one of his followers. "I'm streaming this," he announced. "My people love an underdog story. Especially when the underdog gets stomped." Samuel stepped closer, his gaze fixed on Marcus's calm hands. He'd seen this posture before, not in beginners, but in predators. "Careful, Malone," Samuel muttered under his breath. "You have no idea who you're facing." Malone cracked his knuckles and grinned. "Ladies first," he joked, pushing a pawn forward with exaggerated slowness. The crowd chuckled. Marcus, silent, moved his own pawn without hesitation, a precise, purposeful gesture that caught Samuel Price's attention immediately. The boy's eyes didn't linger on the board like most players. Instead, they flicked once, mapping the entire battlefield in a glance, before locking back on Malone. "You play fast for someone who's about to lose," Malone sneered, making his second move. His hands moved confidently, but Samuel noticed something Malone didn't. Marcus wasn't reacting. He was dictating. With each turn, Marcus's moves seemed to guide Malone into a very specific position. To the untrained eye, it looked like an even match. But to Samuel, it was clear, Marcus was baiting him, weaving a trap so subtle that even a state champion wouldn't notice until it was too late. Near the benches, a group of teens began filming on their phones. "Who's the kid?" one asked. "No clue," another replied. "But Malone's talking too much." "That's never good." By the fifth move, Samuel's eyes widened. He recognized the pattern, a rare, brutal opening only true prodigies dared to use. And Marcus was 3 steps from finishing it. Malone leaned forward, brows furrowed, finally sensing something was off. He moved his queen aggressively, trying to force Marcus into a defensive play. Marcus barely glanced at the piece before sliding his knight into position, a move so sharp it made Samuel Price inhale sharply. 2 older men standing nearby exchanged looks. That's the Phantom Gambit," one murmured. The other frowned. "Impossible. Only one kid ever mastered that, and he disappeared." Samuel stepped closer to the table. "He didn't disappear," he said quietly, his voice almost lost under the buzz of the crowd. "He's sitting right there." Malone, hearing none of it, smirked for the camera. "Hope you're recording this, folks." I'm about to teach Junior here a life lesson about playing with grown men. The live stream chat scrolled fast. Destroy him, King. This will be quick. Kids in over his head. But in the corner of the frame, Samuel's expression told a different story, the look of a man watching a storm form in silence. Marcus adjusted his hoodie and finally spoke, his voice steady but edged with something dangerous. You've been talking since the first move, he said. You won't be talking after the sixth. By now, the semicircle around the table had doubled in size. Tourists held up phones, regulars leaned in, and even the other park players paused their own matches. The air was thick with anticipation. Malone, feeling the weight of the crowd, moved quickly, confident that aggression would rattle the boy. He pushed a rook forward, eyes locked on Marcus like a predator. Marcus didn't flinch. His fingers hovered for a moment, then he moved his bishop in a swift diagonal, snapping the piece into place with a soft clack. Samuel's eyes widened. Oh no, he's forcing it. What's he forcing? One of the onlookers asked. A checkmate in one, Samuel replied, voice low but urgent. Malone leaned back, chuckling, completely unaware of his predicament. Cute move, kid. But you're not cornering me that easy. He reached for his queen, only to freeze halfway, his brow furrowing. He looked at the board again, really looked, and for the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Marcus sat still, unblinking, the ghost of a smile on his lips. Your move, he said quietly. And just like that, everyone around the table leaned in, holding their breath. The crowd was dead silent except for the faint rustle of leaves overhead. Malone's confident smirk had faded into a tight line as he scanned the board, his fingers hesitating above the pieces. Come on, King, someone in the crowd called. Don't keep us waiting. Malone forced a laugh, moving his queen to what he thought was a safe square. The moment his fingertips left the piece, Marcus's eyes sharpened. Without a word, Marcus slid his knight into place, a clean, undeniable strike. Checkmate, he said softly. For a moment, no one moved. The reality of it hung in the air like a thunderclap. Then whispers began. Wait, 6 moves. No way, that's impossible. He just beat the king in 6 moves. Malone stared at the board as if it had betrayed him, replaying the match in his mind and seeing the trap unfold in reverse. His live stream comments exploded. Bro, what happened? You just got wrecked by a kid. Phantom is real. Samuel stepped forward, his voice carrying over the murmurs. Told you. That's Marcus Reed, the Phantom. Malone's eyes shot up to Marcus, but the boy was already standing, backpack in hand, ready to leave. Phones shot up in every direction, capturing the moment from every angle. The once smirking spectators were now buzzing with disbelief, their voices overlapping in excited bursts. I thought Malone was untouchable. 6 moves, man. 6. That kid just made him look like a rookie. Malone's live stream, still running, had shifted from laughing emojis to firestorms of comments mocking the self-proclaimed king. Sponsors and chess blogs were already tagging the clip, Phantom returns, the 6-move knockout. Malone shoved back from the table, his chair scraping loudly on the pavement. You got lucky, kid, he muttered, but the words rang hollow. Everyone had seen it, the calculated precision, the control, the quiet dominance. Samuel stepped into the circle, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder. That wasn't luck. That was discipline. Years of it. The crowd parted slightly as more onlookers hurried in, replaying the match on their phones, frame by frame. Marcus adjusted his backpack strap, avoiding the cameras. I came here to play chess, not make a scene, he said, but his tone carried the quiet satisfaction of someone who had just dismantled arrogance in front of an audience. Malone looked away, unable to meet his gaze. As the circle of spectators began to thin, an older man in a charcoal coat stepped forward. His presence cut through the noise like a sudden drop in volume. The man's sharp eyes flicked from the board to Marcus, then to Samuel. That was impressive, he said, his voice low but carrying weight. You're Marcus Hale, aren't you? The kid they used to call the Phantom. Marcus froze. It had been years since anyone had said that name aloud. I don't use that anymore, he replied carefully. The man smirked. Names don't fade, son. Legends don't either. I run the Midtown Invitational. Biggest underground chess circuit on the East Coast. The buy-in steep, the competition ruthless, and the prize. Let's just say it'll change your life. Malone scoffed from the side. You're not seriously recruiting him off a street match. I'm recruiting the best player I've seen in a decade, the man cut in without looking at him. And right now, that's him. Samuel's eyes narrowed. What's the catch? The man's smirk widened. No catch. Just 3 days from now. Midtown. Midnight. But once you step in, you can't walk away. Marcus glanced at Samuel, then at the crowd still buzzing around them. He felt the weight of the decision pressing against his chest. Marcus lay on his bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. The room was dark except for the weak glow of the street lamp outside, its light spilling in through the blinds like jagged stripes. The invitation replayed in his mind over and over, Midtown Invitational. Midnight. Once you step in, you can't walk away. On the dresser, the old wooden chess piece, a black knight, sat where he'd left it years ago. He picked it up, running his thumb over its worn edges. It had been a gift from his father, before everything went wrong. Before he walked away from tournaments and disappeared from the scene. In the corner, Samuel sat on a chair, scrolling through his phone. You're thinking about saying yes, he said without looking up. Marcus didn't answer. Samuel set the phone down. I know you. You've been hiding from the game ever since. He stopped himself, as if the next words were too heavy to say. Maybe this is your shot to stop running. Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. Or maybe it's exactly the kind of trouble I've been avoiding. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance. Finally, Samuel spoke again, his voice softer. Whatever you decide, just remember, you've still got it. Today proved that. Marcus lay back, staring at the ceiling again, the black knight still in his hand. Sleep didn't come easy. The thought of the Midtown Invitational loomed over him, like a shadow that stretched far into the next few days. The city was loud that morning, as if it knew something was about to happen. Marcus stood at the bus stop, hands in his jacket pockets, the black knight chess piece tucked safely inside. He hadn't told Samuel his decision, but the fact that he was here, wearing his old sneakers and carrying his weathered sports bag, spoke louder than words. The bus hissed to a stop. He climbed aboard, ignoring the curious glances from strangers. Every bump in the road seemed to push his heart a little faster. By midday, he found himself near the edge of Midtown, a place he hadn't been in years. The streets here felt different, faster, sharper, like every shadow had its own secrets. He spent the afternoon in a small cafe across from the venue, nursing a black coffee that had long gone cold. Through the window, he watched the trickle of competitors and onlookers entering the building, sharp suits, flashy sneakers, headphones around their necks, each one carrying a case or a bag like it was a weapon. As the sun began to set, the glow of the neon sign outside flickered on, Midtown Invitational, entry closes 11:45 p.m. Marcus checked his watch. 10:32 p.m. His reflection in the cafe window looked older than he remembered. But there was something else there too, a spark he thought he'd lost. He stood, grabbed his bag, and crossed the street. Inside, the air was thick with tension and quiet murmurs. Long tables lined the room, each with a board already set. At the far end, a raised platform gleamed under the lights, the main stage. As he signed his name on the registration sheet, the coordinator gave him a quick once-over. Marcus Cole, she said, eyebrows lifting slightly. Didn't think I'd see you again. Marcus gave a small smile. Neither did I. If you love the story, please subscribe for more heroic stories like this. Feel free to like and comment how you feel.